Also want to talk about Drake.
I love him. I met him in Australia, and he's honestly so fantastic and a great friend and a great role model.
He's really suing Universal.
Man, how many niggas you in the hood got lawsuits? How many niggas in the hood?
This is different though.
How? Just fuck with Drake. I like his soul. Like as a person that had real conversations with, as opposed to I don't have no relationship with Kendrick and shit like that. You dig? Now if he could catch $1 billion game in the midst of a rap beef, me? Are you kidding me?
I think reputation matters.
Brace yourselves for one of the most buzzworthy debates rocking the hip-hop community today. Drake's rumored lawsuit against Universal Music Group, the world's largest record label, has ignited conversations about loyalty, artistic integrity, and the unwritten rules that govern the rap game. If you've been scrolling through social media these past few days, you've likely stumbled upon hot takes, heated comments, and sly insinuations about whether this move jeopardizes Drake's standing in the culture, or if it's a brilliant play for a bigger bag. But the drama doesn't stop there. In an unexpected twist, rap veteran Jim Jones has stepped up to defend Drizzy, adamantly insisting that this doesn't constitute snitching, while also taking jabs at the critics who seem determined to police how beefs in hip-hop are handled. This controversy, which apparently stems from Drake's dissatisfaction with the behind-the-scenes antics allegedly tied to a Kendrick Lamar track, has the entire scene abuzz. On one hand, fans are questioning Drake's motives and whether he's violated some elusive street code by turning a verbal standoff into a legal matter. On the other hand, people like Jim Jones are calling this a masterstroke that leverages the rap beef's momentum to unearth corporate misdeeds, or simply to collect a hefty settlement. When industry giants and legendary rappers collide, sparks fly. But this controversy goes deeper than typical music world gossip. We're looking at a potential turning point in how artists handle conflicts with each other and with the record labels that distribute and profit from their work. Is this the dawn of a new era where rappers stop at nothing, diss tracks, social media campaigns, lawsuits to protect their interests? Or is it a cautionary tale about mixing street ethos with big business strategies? Today, we're diving deep into every layer of this story, from Drake's rumored lawsuit to Jim Jones's fiery commentary, the unwritten rap code that's stirring up condemnation, and the possibility of fallout for every party involved. Now, to get the full picture, we should rewind and examine the context of Drake's alleged legal move. Word on the street is that the lawsuit involves an accusation that Universal might have unfairly boosted one of Kendrick Lamar's tracks, something Drake apparently considers a violation of fair play during their heated rivalry. According to discussions swirling online, Drake believes promotional practices or manipulations by higher-ups at the label created an uneven playing field, thereby affecting the public perception of which MC emerged victorious in their lyrical showdown. If you're wondering why Drizzy would go after a label rather than the artist himself, Jim Jones has explained that it's all about following the money. In his eyes, there's no point going after an individual rapper when you can hold the corporate giant accountable and potentially walk away with a massive payout. During a lively sit-down on the BNF podcast, Jones launched into a passionate tirade, declaring that seeking legal recourse doesn't make Drake a snitch. It makes him a savvy businessman using real-life tension to his advantage. Still, critics view this tactic as an affront to the deeply ingrained tradition of settling scores on tracks, in freestyle battles, or through back-and-forth diss songs, methods that have historically defined how conflicts in rap get resolved. The notion that an MC would shift from the booth to the courtroom has left some fans and pundits questioning Drake's credibility. After all, rap beef is a central pillar of hip-hop culture, whether it's Nas versus Jay-Z or iconic 90s standoffs that shaped entire coastlines. In those classic showdowns, any mention of lawsuits would have been met with widespread ridicule. However, it's a new era, and big money is involved at every level. Today's rap stars aren't just musicians, they're moguls, dealing with multinational corporations and business decisions that transcend lyrical craftsmanship. That corporate dimension is precisely what makes the current situation more complex than your average rap tiff. It forces fans to question, where do we draw the line between street code ethics and real-world corporate strategy? Jim Jones has been relentless in making his case. He insists that, from a real-world perspective, there's a big difference between being a snitch in the streets and taking a corporation to court for presumably unscrupulous business practices. During the podcast discussion, the Harlem-bred MC compared Drake's alleged lawsuit to the many ways everyday people file lawsuits for personal injuries or even more trivial claims. If people in his neighborhood have made livelihoods off car accidents, workplace incidents, or slip-and-fall cases, why is it so controversial for a global superstar to use a legal tool to correct or capitalize on an industry slight? In Jim's mind, complaining that Drake is tarnishing hip-hop's purity seems misguided, considering that the rap world has long been entangled with major labels that don't exactly prioritize artists' well-being above profits. Moreover, Jim suggests we should be celebrating if an artist manages to claim any slice of the pie from a conglomerate known for questionable contracts. But the pushback arises because the trigger for this entire scenario is, in many eyes, a classic rap beef. Traditionally, rap beef has always been handled through bars, social media drags, interviews, or the occasional behind-the-scenes confrontation. The idea of turning to a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit as an extension of that beef simply feels unprecedented, if not outright taboo. As a result, the conflation of a personal rap dispute with a business lawsuit is what's giving some fans and cultural commentators pause. They argue that this sets a disturbing precedent. If a lyrical exchange or a perceived slight in the music world can morph into a corporate litigation battle, the artistic essence of the game might get lost in the shuffle. To be fair, there's also a segment of the fan base that wholeheartedly supports Drake, saying that if dirty tactics were used by a label to undercut him, then he has every right to seek legal intervention. In an era where streaming numbers, radio spins, and chart positions can turn a single track into a multi-million-dollar enterprise, perhaps it's only logical to bring in the lawyers. But we can't ignore the inherent tension between maintaining hip-hop authenticity and engaging in multi-billion-dollar business maneuvers. This is where Jim Jones's commentary becomes particularly fascinating. He repeatedly highlights that Drake isn't aiming legal action directly at Kendrick Lamar or claiming defamation. Instead, he's allegedly calling out the label's practices. Jim notes that if Drake had personally sued Kendrick for some intangible offense like damaging his reputation, that would place him in the crosshairs of rap purists who'd be outraged by turning rap lyrics into depositions. By targeting a huge corporation, one with a track record of questionable deals, Drizzy effectively shifts the conversation away from the typical rap code. It becomes a David versus Goliath story, albeit with a very wealthy David, who sees a chance to dethrone a monstrous conglomerate in court. From Jim's perspective, there's no reason not to chase the biggest fish if you believe you've got a legitimate claim. However, the moral implications loom. Some say Jim is just defending a friend and trying to remain on Drake's good side, hinting that there might be personal or professional advantages in publicly showing solidarity. Others suggest Jim's own history in hip-hop, where the streets and the industry frequently clash, makes him uniquely positioned to see Drake's move not as a betrayal, but as a savvy pivot that could reshape how artists handle exploitation. If there's a bigger payoff in challenging corporate manipulation, maybe Drake's strategy could even benefit other artists down the line. For now, the rift hinges on whether this lawsuit represents a pivotal moment in hip-hop's evolution or a betrayal of the culture's handle-it-in-house ethos. No matter which side you land on, the conversation is redefining the unwritten rules for rap beef. It's a far cry from the days of quiet phone calls and backroom deals. Now we're watching one of hip-hop's most successful stars potentially drag a major label into the legal arena. And if that alone isn't enough to keep your eyes glued to the next development, the specter of Jim Jones doubling down on his defense of Drake might just seal the deal.